This is The Boys podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back with the finale of The Boys, Season 4, Episode 8, Assassination Run.
Tell me I'm the smartest superhero in the seven.
You are, by far, the smartest superhero in the seven. You're brilliant, a genius.
And that you respect me the most? Besides Homelander, of course.
Of course I respect you. You're amazing.
You're just saying that because you're scared, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I swear.
Yeah, you are. But you know what, bro? That's good enough for me.
Welcome back, fellow boys and girls, to the finale of The Boys Season 4. We're chatting about Assassination Run on this week's podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darick.
Hello there, fellow boys and girls. Yes, we are two fingers deep, and I am one of your other hosts, John.
Make that 3 fingers deep, because I'm here too. I am Chris.
Welcome back, Chris.
In your deep and booming voice.
Yes, I was away getting a brand new voice transplant, or I'm joining WITSEC, or who knows. I was away. I was traveling. I was vacationing. I was looking after a sick child. I was getting a child into creche. It was everything and all in one. The perfect 2 weeks, you may say.
Exactly, yes. But away from us, and there has been a question that we've been wondering about since you went away, about The Boys. Chris, there's other questions that we also were wondering about, but the big question that came up was The Boys introduced their version of Spider-Man to the Boys universe over the last couple of episodes, and you weren't here for
Webweaver.
it. Yeah, and as the biggest Spider-Man fan we know, we wanted to know what your thoughts about Webweaver and I guess his treatment at the hands of both the Seven.
Literally
and,
everyone.
Everyone else, yes. Including Tech Knight and Huey's version of Webweaver getting... a terrible, terrible day, let's say.
Would you like to have been in Mother Milk's position?
Oh, the multiple explosions, let's call it. It'd be definitely, it would be a web-tastic, web-heading adventure. It was fun. It's The Boys. I love the costume's cool. I will give it credit where credit's due. The costume was very cool.
Smelled pretty bad, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Built-in web slingers, didn't need the devices.
That's right.
Straight out the top of the bomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
the small of the back.
Small of the back, yeah. Top of the bomb.
There you go. Some may call it a tramp stamp. We call it a web shooter. But yeah, no, look, it was very cool. Costume was cool. Way better than, say, Ezekiel's in Madame Web. So very close to it, actually. Some could say they took some liberties. Or each to their own. Huey looked great in it. The storyline was fun. Tech Knight being Tech Knight, great. Ashley doing Ashley things. Interesting. And the whoever was playing Tech Knight's Tech Boy sidekick, I'm still so interested to find out who was in that costume, because I'm pretty sure they're going to turn around and say it was like someone from one of the Supernatural kind of
it'd be like Ryan Reynolds
seasons,
because it was red.
Oh, maybe, or it could actually be Jared Padalecki. We know that Kripke's reached out to him for an appearance in The Boys. Maybe that was the appearance. He wasn't waiting for season 5 to appear as a brand new big character. He was just playing Tech Knight's Tech Boy.
Dare I say it? He didn't look big enough.
Yeah. Jared Padalecki looks much bigger than that. You're right. He looks,
oh my God, that could be Eric Kripke himself.
It could be.
But overall, I really have enjoyed these last few episodes. I think you guys were on Twitter, and Chou Coker basically was talking about the last episode, episode 7, and basically saying, my God, has anyone watched it? And I assume, Darick, it was probably yourself who replied going, yeah, they're pretty prophetic in this one, and it's kind of scarily on point. watching this over the last few weeks, I've just been like, oh my God, this was written like, let's say 8 to 12 months ago. These guys are supernatural. Literally.
Yeah, I think I said
the writer's room.
The show tends to be quite prophetic in where it expects the US to go. But last episode was like it was written by the precogs from Minority Report, because it was specifically predicting something that was going to happen within the week. There is quite a different pull, I guess, looking on the episodes when you're looking at them in the context of what's going on in the real world out there. But we're not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about The Boys, of course, the show itself, and we will get into spoilers for the finale episode. But glad you're all caught up, Chris, and glad you enjoyed the version of Web. We were just laughing about the fact that the first episode was Batman versus Spider-Man, and the second episode was effectively Superman versus Spider-Man. And Spider-Man doesn't come out very well out of either his battle with Batman or his battle with Superman, being ripped in half by their version of Superman here as well. Yeah.
But I will give it to Amazon. They keep giving us their version of Spider-Man because they can't get their own. So we've had it in Invincible and we've had it in The Boys. Exactly.
Good stuff. Right. That's Chris's thoughts on the last couple of episodes. We'll get into our thoughts on the finale. But before we do, let's get into some feedback from our wonderful fellow boys and girls. First up, Meryl Smith says, something that I've been thinking about is during the Gen V finale, where it was shown that Marie and the others were locked up, possibly in another version of The Woods, while in The Boys, it said in the news that they're on the run. And in what I think is the Vault spin doctors doing work exactly the way they do it best. They have people looking for them outside while they're actually inside. It's a classic misdirection tactic. If they really had gotten away, we would have seen it on screen. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the last time we saw them in Gen V, all those characters were locked up in a prison, weren't they? So it could be, or something's happened in between season 1 of Gen V and where that was revealed in The Boys, and we'll see it at the start of Gen V Season 2.
Oh yeah, that could also make sense, because they may make it run concurrent. Season 2 of Gen V is happening during this season 4 of The Boys, and then everything kind of syncs up at the end for the next seasons. Yeah,
but potentially we do know that, and our Kripke said this, that Gen V Season 1 leads into The Boys Season 4. We've now seen that on screen, and we'll talk about it a bit later on in the episode. But he also said going back into Gen V Season 2, that will lead directly off of The Boys Season 4 as well. So so there will be, it may be just the first 2 episodes take place during this time in these 8 episodes of The Boys, and then it continues on to another story. But again, we'll talk about that as we get to the characters from Gen V.
Well, I think you could find The Boys ending up in the same facility where the Gen V are.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thanks so much, Meryl, for your thoughts. Next up, we got an email in from Coffee and Vodka, who says, greetings, fellow Christmas-tacular defenders. A middling episode of The Boys is better than the best of anything out there right now. And while this wasn't middling by any means, it was a very apparent rush job to further along plot points. Armchair showrunning, I'd say they have done well to either add a couple of episodes or axe the Frenchie guilt trip and Kamiko's shining light subplots. Be that as may, I'm honestly more curious to see how Homelander deals with his progeny than to see how the assassination attempt goes. Speaking of, hope Sam wasn't watching that particular Christmas special. It may have brought back PTSD for him. Every season has a chosen one to get especially dumped on. This time it's Starlight in the barrel, and it'd be nice to let her, one of the few characters that doesn't need redeeming, out soon. Maybe replace her with her mother. Higher standards, my ass. Never thought the Deep would get more dislikable than the very first episode, but Kripke me once. And R.I.P. Ambrosius. As usual, so much else. Looking forward to next week. 4 shredded Websters, stripping skin jobs, and propaganda puppets out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Good stuff, Coffee and Vodka. Yeah, totally. The Deep getting sort of more despicable as time goes on here. It'll be interesting now what comes of him over season 5 for sure.
He's fully over the edge now.
Yeah. R.I.P. Ambrosius indeed. And of course, the voice of Tilda Swinton. I really hoped actually that Ambrosius was somehow still lurking and was going to, sort of get her revenge on the Deep.
On the Deep, yeah. That would have been good. An interesting one that came out this week, a little news story from Chase Crawford, who was saying that he never knew it was Tilda Swinton doing the voice of Ambrosius, so he filmed all of his scenes, of course, and then they put in Tilda Swinton's voice afterwards. He was like, that's amazing. So he absolutely loved the idea, but didn't know, of course, who his scene partner was at the time, apart from it being Ambrosius, the octopus.
Interesting.
Thanks so much for your thoughts, Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah, thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Over on Facebook, we have some feedback from Eugene Basil Abbott, who says, still haven't watched, but boy, has my house gotten very clean. Again, rewatching and therefore listening along to you guys, I questioned why it would be expected that Ryan would have the same powers as Homelander. I'm thinking there must be a genetic component to the powers, though, because while Wee Huey and his dad had different powers, they both were of the teleportation sort. Wee Huey was lucky he never ended up naked standing in the middle of someone else who he exploded from the inside like termite. I have no idea what the finale or season 5 hold, but if he and Starlight have a kid, would it use electricity to teleport? Also, because I've seen all 4 seasons and Gen V, if you go back to season 3 when Huey visits Red River and they're looking for an adoptable child, good cover Huey, they scroll by a photo of Mary. I'm sure that's in an X-ray somewhere because I haven't listened to the Gen V episodes yet. This got long. Thanks so much, Eugene. Yeah, I think definitely there is some kind of genetic component there going on, but good spot around the Wee Huey and Hugh Senior in terms of their kind of teleportation type of vibe that they have. But certainly, it looks if the V compound is there because of a birth, then it is probably going to be melded in there with the genetics.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one that we missed completely, and definitely confirmed the reason why Wee Huey and Huey have similar powers in their teleportation abilities because they are connected by family. So there is a genetic piece to it there, but we just missed it. Again, we were recording these episodes before they come out, and there's big things that sometimes we don't catch that everybody catches, and we feel really silly about it that we didn't notice it. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right as well. That little Easter egg of Marie Moreau being in that episode of The Boys before Gen V had been released. No way you could have known it when you were watching it first time through until you saw Marie Moreau being such a big character in Gen V. But when you're looking back on a rewatch, it definitely stands out that that's who it is.
Yeah. And yes, as again, speaking on the genetics, on our Gen V podcast, for those who hopefully will listen to it very soon, Polaris and his father, both of them have the exact same power sets.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so pure genetic based. And we go through that because then you also do see that there is that kind of the next generation all seemingly are either as powerful or sometimes more powerful because they're second generation powered with another soup parent. So they are kind of super parentage.
Exactly.
If you will.
Exactly. Good stuff. Thanks so much for your feedback there, Eugene.
Yeah, thanks, Eugene. And we also got some feedback from Scott McInada, who had this to say. There has to be a reason for Sage to leave her Brave Maeve notebook at the tower. She's been a good guy-ish all along and is trying to coerce Homie into doing something. Maybe something as simple as reverse psychology or even reverse psychology, knowing that he'll overthink the situation as the smart guy. Probably. Scott, there could be something to that. When you're listening to this, there is going to be, at the end of this season, it is collected, and there is a bit about why she comes back for it. But overall, yeah.
Makes sense. It was just a little nod there from the writers, right? Just
exactly.
To say she's coming back for that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Scott. Of course, as Chris said, you'll see it later on in the episode, or in the episode itself. Of course, you've probably seen it at this stage as to why she left it behind there, because she was always coming back.
Yeah. Good spot there, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Also, we got some feedback in from David Mr. Writer, who says, well, that's a hell of a cliffhanger in episode 7. Interesting setup for the finale. I love the line where Homelander tells Sage she's lucky he doesn't send her home in a bucket. Also, good on them to pay homage to the Mortal Kombat fatality by ripping apart Webweaver. I think I understand why this season has appeared slow. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to make it into a continuation to season 5. This seems to be like one big long setup for the series finale. I also heard that Laz Alonso, his actual words, not a rumour, chose to lose and cut weight for season 4 in order to show how much of the toll it takes to be a leader of the boys. So all the speculation of what happened, or if he was sick, can be laid to rest. This was an artistic choice by him. Very interesting. You can kind of see it now as the seasons have gone on, you know, the whole stress and pressure that MM was under really coming through in the performance that Laz Alonso brings to MM as a character, and how much pressure he's been under, how much danger he feels he's been under as the full-on leader of the boys, with Billy sidelined, I guess.
I think so, yeah. And I mean, even it's being the leader of the boys, but it's also having to deal with the stress of what happened to his family as well. That is a good choice. It's good to hear that from the actor as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And certainly, the Mortal Kombat fatality, especially for Web Weaver, very, very good indeed. Thanks so much, David, Mr. Writer.
Yeah, and you are right. It does feel like now that season 5 has been announced as the final season, this finale of season 4 with its cliffhanger is leading into season 5. So whether it's just a 2-part series or whether it is just a continued 2 seasons all combined together, I don't think you're going to be able to go into season 5 having not watched any of the previous 4 seasons. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Also on episode 7, we have Dr. Bob Phillips, who says the mid-season finale is rushing in fast. Possibly one of the best lines was the silent questioning head tilt from Noir as Deep asked about lobotomies. Also, for those wondering, a thorough knee amputation after displacing the patella would have been quicker than the low femoral approach that Frenchie took. Ryan played the Muppet scene really well, highlighting the emotional Tutti Frutti. Yes, indeed. I think Ryan's Muppet scene, just really good. And actually, I quite liked how Ryan has Tutti Frutti'd it emotionally throughout the whole of this season, because there was that moment a few episodes back where he gets one of the main director, him to apologize to his assistant. I thought, okay, here's Ryan going more to the dark side. So I think they've tried to just keep you guessing, and that makes sense for this last episode, actually, where he is sort of being asked to kind of step up, really, by Billy Butcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he's done a great job.
Yeah, well, he won't. He is the thing that we will be taking through into season 5.
Absolutely, that's what the show's been about, really, since the reveal of Ryan at the end of this first season, right? So, but he's done a great job since this actor came on in season 2. He's done a great job of playing Ryan and playing that battle inside his mind of whether he goes with his real father of Homelander or whether he goes with the person he thought of as a dad with Billy Butcher. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that age, because it really kind of works very well, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, even his voice, you sense his voice is breaking a little bit, naturally. But it seems to work with the character because the character's in the same position, and it almost makes him sound nervous when he's talking.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with Cameron, the actor who plays Ryan. Obviously he did replace the other actor who was there for like the split second scene at the end. And he has been that character since, but he has aged rapidly because these do take a year to film. Yeah. And although it's supposed to be a lot quicker in Boys Universe time, I'm really hoping that by the end of season 5, he's not just over. He's not just like he's already growing his first beard, that type of thing. He's just hit puberty already.
Yeah. I hope not. And I suppose that's the best thing about the show finishing in season 5. We don't have to have that situation where a child actor is supposed to be playing a teenager and has grown and become 30 because the show went on for 15 seasons or something like that, I think doing a great job. Excellent stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob. Heather Wallace says, wow, I never thought I'd cheer A-Train's entrance. He and MM were the team up I didn't know I needed. This started with A-Train negligently killing Huey's girlfriend, and now he saved Huey's new girlfriend, although she's in a bad position at the end of the episode and will not be happy with Huey when she escapes. I love the different reaction shots of Ryan's two dads, Homelander frustrated and disappointed, and Butcher so very proud. As truly awful and irredeemable as Homelander is, he does love Ryan, just not in a way to see Ryan as his own person. I've been missing Kimiko and Frenchie's closeness. It was a relief when she moved over to make room for him to sit down, and then he had to chop her leg off. One episode to go. There's about 4 sentences in there, Heather, that you wouldn't get in any other TV show ever other than The Boys, really, is there?
Yeah, they were getting closer, and then he chopped her leg off.
Then he had to chop her leg off, yeah. His two
Not
dads.
even chopped, saw through her leg and bone. I think it's one of the more visceral sort of leg chopping off I've ever seen.
It is.
I think it's better than any zombie one I've seen, actually, to be honest.
I still say Herschel's leg in season 3 of Walking Dead is amazingly visceral. I think this one worked really well because it was In Time to Steal My Sunshine by Len, that terrible 90s song. Oh. I'll repeat my comment that it's a terrible 90s song because that not everybody agrees with me.
So you're just going to keep saying it until someone else? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It is a terrible song, but it is a great moment, and it was really visceral as well. But again, a great boys moment that you wouldn't get in most other shows. Good stuff, guys. That is it for our feedback from our wonderful boys and girls on the last episode. We mentioned last week when we were doing our wrap-up episode of The Boys. You can get your feedback in for the finale. We will discuss it on there, along with giving out all the answers to the pub quiz. We have one final question in the pub quiz coming up towards the end of the episode. And all you need to do is gather together all 8 answers to the pub quiz, email them to us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you could be on the chance of getting your hands on some boys goodies in next week's episode.
Yes, absolutely. Boys and girls, fellow quizzers, get those answers rolling in after this episode.
Absolutely, after the question for this episode's been given out. And if you missed any of the questions, you can pop on over to our website, of course, at tvpodcastindustries.com. All the questions are up there at the moment. So
excellent. Well, Darick, then, let us get into our spoiler-filled review for the finale episode of The Boys Season 4, Assassination Run. What are some of the episode details?
Well, of course, the showrunner for the show is Eric Kripke. He has been the showrunner since season 1 of the show. This is based on the comic book series from Garth, Ennis and Darick Robertson. The executive producers for the show are Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This episode was written by Jessica Chou and David Reed. This is Jessica's 3rd episode after writing the episode Herogasm last season and episode 2 of this season. And she also wrote an episode of Gen V. This is David's 4th episode of The Boys, including the 1st episode of this season and the finale of season 3. So he's kind of keeping that story going throughout the seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the 1st episode of season 5 as well to keep that story going.
Let's see.
Yeah. And this episode was directed by showrunner Eric Kripke, putting his stamp on the last episode of season 4.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Boys season 4 episode 8, Assassination Run?
Sure. It's January the 6th as Congress certifies the election results to officially make Bob Singer president and Victoria Neuman his VP. But when Homelander reveals the truth about Neuman on live TV, it sends Congress and the entire nation into an uproar. Meanwhile, the boys try to protect Singer from assassination, not realizing that the assassin is closer than they think. Annie struggles to figure out who Annie January really is and to break free from captivity. And when Butcher makes his final attempt to convince Ryan to leave Homelander, things go horribly wrong, causing Butcher to embrace the monster within, and nothing will ever be the same again.
That's a pretty good synopsis of what happens in the episode.
Yeah. Literally nothing will be the same again.
Yeah.
It's all changed at the top.
It's all changed. And a really good thing to mention there. I think I said it on last week's episode when we were podcasting that January 6th is Inauguration Day in the US. That was totally an error on my side. I should have remembered that's the day that Congress certifies the election. It's nothing to do with the inauguration. That happens way after the election has been certified. That's what caused all the problems in the US at the time of the certification of the election on January 6th. And now the date lives on in infamy, as I had said last week. But I completely messed up my days. I don't know enough about American politics, obviously.
Well, infamy. They've all got it, infamy.
Exactly.
Let's move it on to a lighter note.
Yes, let's get on to our main moments from the episode. We're going to start out with our boys moment, as usual, our protagonist moment for the episode.
Oi, oi.
Did you hear Billy Butcher answering his phone like that in this episode? It just made me laugh because we've been using that clip, which I think is from season 1 of the show. But he picks up his phone to Huey and goes, oi, oi, immediately. I was just quite happy with that. But anyway, who wants to kick us off with the first point? Chris, do you want to take first point?
I will, just because it is a bit of a oi, oi moment. Bangers and mash. kiss and caboodle, kid and caboodle, all the Cockney slang you can think of for a kiss heard around the world, perfectly framed on a walkway. Yes, Frenchie and Kimiko have finally kissed.
What's the bangers and mash? Cockney
Assuming
rhyme and slang?
they're starting to do the bangers and mash. I don't know. I was trying to
Smash?
make it work there. They're smash.
I think it's just Londonisms. They're not Cockney rhyme and slang,
Okay.
to be honest. In fact, you'd probably hear bangers mash all across England. But anyway, it doesn't matter at all.
You all
tried,
understood
Chris.
what I meant. I tried.
We got it. Were you as shocked at this as I
Yes.
was, Chris? I was absolutely shocked after everything they've gone through with Kimiko and Frenchie that they put the characters together here and have them have a massive smooch on screen after everything they've gone through the last 2 seasons. I was surprised.
I honestly, I thought this was off the table.
Yeah.
I thought that they'd set this like to go, no, do you know what? Look, these two are better as friends.
Yeah.
And to somewhat take that back, and well, I'm somewhat to fully take that back and say that it was said because they both needed to go on their journey throughout this season to get to this point is impressive.
Yeah.
It makes it oh so more sweet and then bittersweet at the end of this episode. That they are where they are. Because it is this constant, I'm going to call it Romeo and Juliet, but there's probably a better analogy in like literature where they are constantly ripped from each other. They cannot, they're star-crossed lovers.
Yeah.
As much as they want to be together, fate is just constantly getting in the way, be it fate of their own doing, be it the universe, be it the job they have, but they have finally made that call. And 2 quick parts. One, the choice by Kripke to frame that kiss on the walkway in the, like, nothing else going on around them. Just beautiful. It looked spectacular. It was a really nice shot. And then just the little silly, the emojis text that she showed Starlight Annie.
Yes.
And it was just like
Just
a French man,
little French flag.
a French flag.
Yeah.
And then a kiss. I was like, we all just went, oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a nice ending to that, to the story the two of them have been on throughout this season.
Yeah, and as you say, it's not the ending of the episode. There's other things that happen afterwards, and we'll probably go into those, I guess, as we go through the episode. But to have this moment where the two of them rekindle their love, there is an old trope of this. I know you mentioned Romeo and Juliet, Chris, but of course there is a trope of the will they, won't they characters on sci-fi shows and on comedy shows all the time. It was two characters that are destined to be together but always being pulled apart. Things like the Ross and Rachel in Friends and Diane and Sam on Cheers. Those characters that were always supposed to be together but fought throughout the years or couldn't be together for whatever reason. That's exactly
Chuck
what
and
they've
Sarah
done here with
in Chuck.
Okay. That's what they've done here with Frenchie and Kimiko. They've made them into the will they, won't they characters, and I thought it was they won't at the start of the season. That's what I thought they were going for. Nope, they're not going to be together. And then to end the season with the two of them together, or at least at that point, was just a big surprise for me. But a nice moment, a lovely moment. They're great. They're both great characters. Yeah,
and it just sets up the heartbreak for next season.
Absolutely.
Now, by the end of this episode, they're separated, and they definitely separated.
Yep.
And it just brings way more questions into because of how they're separated. Will he even remember who she is, who they are, who he is, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, I think, their storyline in some ways has been so tragic all the way through. And to be honest, this last episode is, the end of Empire Strikes Back. It's pretty grim if you're rooting for the boys. And that kiss is just that little bit of hope in amongst all of this from the boys' side. I mean, even just all the way through, like, where she's cleaning the bloody teddy bear at the start, I thought that was quite cute as well. Yeah. So I guess...
the one that was covered with her blood from last week's episode.
Exactly. Yeah. So that I kind of like that, but I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
But fair dues. I guess it will be really tragic. It'll lock into the Shakespearean tragedy then in season 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got somewhere slightly ahead of me. You brought in the Empire reference, so thank you. I was almost expecting the "I love you, I know,"
Right. Yeah.
because of the way this ended, and except that I was, because it very clearly this is their Empire season going into Return for next season.
Could see that. Yeah.
And because they had got them together, similar to Han and Leia, and then you tear them apart at the end. I was expecting her to sign that or some form of that, because just to kind of really kind of cement it with the nerds.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
I think it's enough that it took place in a warehouse that looks similar to the kind of place they would have filmed Empire Strikes Back, with a little more set dressing, of course, in Empire Strikes Back. but no, it's really good, a really good call out. That's how I definitely want to make sure that we put a pin on in what happens to them at the end, because there's one other little touch to what happens at the end that we definitely should be talking about. So, but we're going to hold that off on that finale and the wrap up of the episode until our other outstanding moments. Is that all you have on Frenchie?
That's all. That's from my boys.
And Kimiko, cool. John, what about your boys' moments?
I think my boys' moment is just all the boys sort of getting together, the team getting together to go and protect President-elect Singer, who's, I love, 4 stories underground in the soup-proof bunker, really, playing mini golf, which of course comes back to bite him on the ass, really, in the sort of the greater scheme of things. From the wizard sage. But I just kind of liked this. I liked the fact that you have them all claustrophobically sort of in this underground bunker to protect Singer from Homelander. And you have this moment of realization then that Huey knows that Starlight isn't Starlight here in the bunker, locked in. And there's just some really nice touches here, as the doppelganger shapeshifter, and you have Huey telling Mother's Milk to just look forward, don't look at her, keep it natural, and it starts to go and be anything but natural. And the doppelganger picks up on it with, Mother's Milk squeezing his hand, the sort of side glances from Huey. And then she goes, "Oh, you've noticed." And it's the ring. And I kind of liked just how they built up the tension here. It was good fun.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the point that once, fake Starlight is unleashed here. I mean, the fight is just really good. I wouldn't like to be one of the Secret Service men in this particular situation where you've got the right-angled back kill. There's the coat hook kill, and there's the putter kill as well. And I mean, all this really explosive, really fast, almost Terminator-esque in the efficiency of the kills. And you just see them trying to get President Singer out the big bomb blast doors. It's taking forever to open.
So good.
What a way such to a great little tension, juxtaposition. And even a bit later where they're going through another set and he was just like, how many numbers are there for this code? It's like Mother's Milk is just running through all the numbers you think of. So I just kind of like this whole thing because, in a sense, everything going above ground was just, there's a sinisterness to it. And I mean, it's to the point. I think this season really is where it's still joking about all this stuff, but actually it's almost as well playing out in real time. I mean, it's so weird. The stuff that's happening here is playing out in real time. And we're kind of pretending that this is all jokey and, satire in a sense, but it is, the usual thing with certain politicians on the other side of the Atlantic, such as Boris Johnson, where basically all the satirists went, well, satire is dead. What can we do now that is going to trump any of this? Yeah. Pardon the pun. And of course, so I kind of like this underground thing because it was totally sort of just devoid of all of that. And it spoke to kind of almost that, just the storyline of Starlight's been kidnapped, she's been replaced with a doppelganger, and now they're in this pressure situation, but there's so much kind of jokey stuff going around, and I thought it was classic. I just thought it was classic Boys. Really enjoyed it. It had a bit of fighting, awkwardness, carried the plot forward, and was used later on to effectively, hang Singer and get him arrested. So I just really like this whole bit in the bunker.
Yeah, and one other thing I really did like about it is also that it showed the intelligence of MMM. Why is the leader of the Boys? He gets everybody into that group, into that room to make sure that President Singer is safe. But the first thing he says is, we're not definitely going to be safe in here. The person could already be in here that's going to assassinate you. We could be putting you in a sealed room. So he knows that. He is looking out for clues. He's making sure that everybody checks in and that everybody keeps in contact and keeps their eyes peeled. It's not, let's all sit down and chill out, wait for it all to blow over. He is thinking about that there's a possibility that someone's in here, and it turns out he's right, like that.
Yeah, especially he could have made the Shaun of the Dead reference.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to reference things the way you think they're going to reference things, Chris.
I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed every part of this. So I'll kind of level because I would have talked about this in the previous episodes. If I was on it, the shapeshifter I felt was a bit of going to be a scapegoat,
right?
Because it was like, oh yeah, you've done the shapeshifter before. Okay, where are you going with this? It just makes okay. They use it to such good effect here because the shapeshifter does have some telepathy as well.
Yeah.
And is able to read the mind and is able to take it. And you do start to question, is Huey going to be blinded by all the silly things that kind of is going on and the multiple rounds of pillow gymnastics that goes on? Definitely less than 20.
Definitely less. Yes.
Definitely less than 20.
I think maybe.
Maybe. But then they use it. And then, like, for example, that fight, we've already seen how versatile that shapeshifter is.
She's pretty indestructible as well. Like, I was kind of fairly shocked by that. I didn't realize effectively she was going to be bulletproof.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And then to see, like, she just gets choked out. So I'm pretty sure that she may still be alive.
I did think that as well.
So that's interesting. There's a line from Annie when she comes back to really rip Huey a new one. And she says, oh, you gave her the engagement ring. I know because I pulled it off her cold, dead finger. And she's so angry about it that I think she checked for a pulse. I think Annie January is confirming she killed the shapeshifter because of her wheedling her way into Huey's life and getting engaged to him and Huey not knowing the difference. I think she is angry as all hell, and she not only choked that thing out, she strangled it, ripped off its head, and then ripped off the ring as well.
I do hope that because... And Kimiko full on gets an exorcist moment.
She does. Wow.
Like I for a split second was like, wait, no. Like I knew she's been through worse things, but I did think for a split second, wait, are they just going to take her off the table for like half of the episode? Just because, like, how do you come back from that so quick? But then she came back from it so quick.
Yeah, it's weird actually because with Kimiko getting her neck broken. When she was coming round, I thought she would be confronted with the two Starlights and not know which one to go after.
Yeah.
So it was actually, even sort of with the real Starlight having choked out fake Starlight, I thought, but is Kimiko going to know that that's the real Starlight?
Yeah.
But she is wearing something different, absolutely. Yeah. So you can tell from that. But I just thought there was going to be that kind of moment where it's like, who's who here, and having to figure that out.
Exactly.
I mean, in the sense that, Huey and Starlight have got some difficult things to chat through, but I think in the end she does accept the fact that she was a very good doppelganger. She told Starlight as well that she can take her memories, because she talks about using her grandparents' one on Huey. Yeah. So Starlight does know that, and I mean, that does change the game a bit with the shapeshifters, that it's not just a physical manifestation, it is a personality as well.
Because we were talking about it last week. There was there's a moment when the shapeshifter took the laptop from Huey's safe in the house, and the only way she could possibly have known the code was that she had some of the memories of Starlight. So we knew that there was something different. It wasn't just a take on the appearance of somebody. She takes on all their memories and takes on all their knowledge as well. So that makes them so much more scary. That moment when she's describing when the first time she transformed was when she was 6 years old at preschool, transformed into her teacher and knew everything about her teacher, knew that she was having sex with one of the neighbors, was justifying it all to herself. As a 6-year-old, she suddenly had all that inside her brain, and that's what turned her into a sociopath. So I thought that was really, again, it's how they think about all the angles of these characters that they introduce, even for an episode or two. It just is always very good. So I like that a lot. But yeah, just that I think Annie threatens Huey with having to go and get every single STD test in the world to make sure that he doesn't have shapeshifter syphilis.
But it's not a threat. It's like you will
are getting.
But I think it's it's just the way the boys do it, where she goes, okay, I get you were duped,
yes, absolutely.
And I accept that, because Huey says how he kind of knew in the end that it wasn't her.
Yeah. She found her keys in less than 10 minutes because she's normally absolutely freezing everywhere she goes, and the shapeshifter was sweating. And because when she wore a really hot looking outfit at home, when normally she puts on her sweatpants the minute she walks in through the door, because she cannot possibly wear designer clothes in the house, basically. So I thought Huey knows all the little stuff about her. So.
But I thought this was all really good because Singer survives, it sets up a spooked Neuman, who then is calling up Huey, and effectively, a determined Homelander that is willing to do anything. I do like what he says to Neuman: there is no fail. If you back down, then I will cause pain for your daughter for the rest of her life and send bits of her to you. All this kind of stuff, real
terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it kind of kicks off that kind of end game bit really here.
Yeah.
And so it was a great part for me.
Absolutely. And it does kick off, I guess, what my boys moment is as well. Neuman going and talking to Huey and telling him that she wants his help and that they will be able to be on the same side kind of inspires Huey to give his speech to the rest of the team, partly because Neuman says, well, you do something to me, I do something to you, and it's always going to get worse and worse and worse as it goes on. So Huey's speech to the team I thought was really, really good. And again, let's say to make the world a little less tense, maybe we need to step back and forgive or show mercy, because that is more brave than just showing hate and murdering people all the time, which has been the boys' modus operandi since the beginning of the show. It's been about, let's go out and kill them before they kill all of us, basically, or let's go and kill them after they kill some of us, whatever it may be. It seems to be escalating over and over again. And Huey's made this idea now. He said, this is it. We have to make a final stand, and we have to be more human to fight these monsters effectively. So I thought that moment of inspiration for the team, it leads to Frenchie and Kimiko starting to get the idea that maybe they can forgive themselves. Maybe that is an approach they can take rather than just holding on to the guilt and venting it in anger all the time. I like and Annie joining the cause by just going, yeah, F it. Why not? Let's go out with our heads held high is basically their plan.
Exactly. But I like how they, for it's like, well, we rolled the dice with A-Train and look how that turned out. We didn't think that was going to turn out the way it is.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked that it was all a bit flippant. It was like, okay, sure, let's give it a go. They still got the contingency of, well, if she even looks and blinks her eyes funny,
absolutely,
there will be Frenchie there with the virus, aiming for the soft tissue and so on. So I like the fact that
we'll give this a go, but not 100% behind it. Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that in a sense we'll never know, but
Yeah. Yeah, I never know how well it could have gone, but they were all aligned with a good new leader of the boys, as opposed to who was totally stressed out, and Billy, who just wants to kill everything in his path. Here we have Huey, who's actually kind of stepping up to be a leader in a way, and telling them this is a way they could be able to work through it. One other little interesting nod that's in there of Huey as he nods back to another choice he made this season, which was to be instantly angry with his mother the minute she came back into his life.
Oh, such a good speech.
Yeah. So interesting that he's saying, it's the wrong choice because I could have had some time with my mother since I was a kid. So this is the lesson that he learned after his father died, the last thing his father taught him, and he's going to bring it into his life with the boys. So I thought it was really a really good way to finish Huey's arc for the season, I suppose, after everything that he's been through, mostly on his own or with his family. So a good way to bring that back into the team.
Yeah, definitely.
No, great.
Excellent. That's it for our boys moments, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Let's get on to our 7 or antagonist moments for the episode.
You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero.
Who is the real hero? Well, definitely not the 7 or Homelander, but guys, who wants to kick us off with their 7 moments for the episode?
I'll jump in.
All right.
Because this is a bit of one. It's not really 7. I'm going to call Butcher my antagonist moment for this episode. Very much towards the end. Not talking about the Mallory aspect, which we'll get discussed later. He is now fully souped up, V-roided, tentacle waving Butcher. The grey in his beard is gone. He is back to how he looked in season 1, and he has poisonous ripped tentacles flying from the tumor in his chest, and he rips Vic in half. He is a man on a mission to kill the Soups, to kill Homelander, and that's what he's going to do come hell or high water. Yeah. And it really cements him now as an antagonist of the boys. He is now outside of the CIA. He's outside of the boys. He's outside of everything that he was. Yeah. He's against Ryan. We saw this deterioration, this downturn of Butcher. Butcher was never a good person.
No.
He was always, he called it himself, he was always the a-hole, trying to sometimes do the right thing, which in his mind was get the Soups who were taking advantage or doing the bad things. They was to keep the Soups in line. That's what the boys were doing.
Because originally they'd killed his wife, or that's what he thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's really just kind of cemented over time. We saw him talk to himself throughout this season about how he will lie to himself about things that to tell the perfect story for himself, to make himself more of the bad guy. He's just now fully embraced that. He is, the Jeffrey Dean Morgan character said, I am you. Yeah. You are me. You just a different aspect. And that he has now embodied that aspect that just has no attachments.
Yeah. I love that.
He's singular minded.
I love that in the clip from last week's episode, what happened in last week's episode, where Kessler says to Billy Butcher, when I say you want to blow up the entire world, when I say you want to commit genocide, you do because I am you, and that is your thought. It's not, I'm not someone possessing you like a ghost coming in. This is your thought. Your thought is you want to commit genocide. So, and a great touch at the end as Billy drives off, looks in the mirror, and it's Joe Kessler's face looking back at him. I kind of had said, when Billy passed out at the end of the last episode, I wonder, does that mean now Joe takes over the body? Basically, they didn't go that way. They went with him in hospital. We'll talk about that in a second. But the end of the episode actually does kind of indicate what I said last week. It is Joe Kessler now inside the body, possessing him almost, now being that side of Billy that can do these kind of things where he'll rip apart a woman in front of his daughter. He'll rip her in half,
Yeah.
Even Billy usually wouldn't have gone that far in the past, but this version of Billy seems to go as far as he wants to.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's the fine dividing line, isn't it, between him and Homelander?
Somewhere around the midriff, yeah.
They are literally both, to some degree, as bad as one another. It's just one is souped up.
Yeah.
The other isn't. But the other
Now
one
he is.
has. But there are, to a greater or lesser degree, empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
I think that's the great thing about this timing of this, where he, you've just had Huey's stirring speech around sort of mercy, trying to flip Neuman, trying to reason with the rest of the boys that, we're human.
Yeah.
Ever since I've become a part of the boys, death, killing, murder has been normalized. I used to be shocked by it. And, that's not necessarily the answer. We can do it differently.
Yeah.
And he's kind of, like you say, it's all on board, and literally Captain Chaos arrives with Joe Kessler in the saddle.
Yeah.
And out comes the killing sort of fronds or whatever they are, the worms, and rips Neuman in shreds. It's like basically like, yeah, thanks, Huey. I mean, it's even just that he puts his hand on Huey's shoulder and then just grabs him to move him out the way.
Yeah.
Out they come, Neuman dead. I mean, effectively, his daughter Zoe as well is crashed into the shelving. I don't know.
He's knocked her out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's knocked her out. And of course, like in his usual kind of way, he says, if I were you lot, I wouldn't hang about. He knows what's about to come, in a sense.
Absolutely.
And
his final words to them are, "You're welcome." Yeah.
So I loved that, because it feels like you say, Chris, Butcher, from the first few, the first season at least, this kind of real kind of bit of a tosser, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but he's that character. Like, a lot of people would assume he's the anti-hero, right? He's not.
No.
The hero of the boys is Huey and the other boys.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done throughout the 4 seasons, and will do in the 5th season, to show that the boys secretly are being redeemed, and like MM is getting his place. Like Starlighter is evolving and to become a better Starlight, a better person at the end of it. Huey's evolving, but Butcher's devolving.
Yeah. And I think that's why those little visual tropes of showing the same scene but from the viewpoint of Homelander and then Billy Butcher are just so on point, because it's actually saying, really, in effect, these people are not that different. In a sense, pity Ryan or pity the boys, because they're having to deal with the ego and manicness of these two. And so
and the 7, and then we'll talk about it as well. But, Homelander's treating the 7 the way that Billy Butcher treats the boys. Like, they're just a tool that he'll use them. And if they don't shape up, he'll cut them loose, basically. Now, we have in the past had Billy on the opposite side to the boys in other seasons of the show, but this is a real definitive cut here. If the team escape the finale of what happens here at the end of this season, Billy could also be another antagonist for the next season. So I totally understand why you have this in your antagonist moment, Chris. It makes sense that I don't think we're going to have a happy clappy team up of the boys again in the next season.
No, exactly. No. But so that's my moment.
Great. Well, I'll come in for my 7 moment, because in a sense it's Billy Butcher as well, just with a bit of added Homelander, and it's the events sort of preceding, really, I think, what you've just sort of raised there, because, as I say, Ryan has been kind of open to interpretation, let's put it that way, through this season, and even just like in the last season as well. And like any adolescent, early teens, whatever, who knows where they're necessarily going to land? Will they be the rounded person that you want them to be, or will they be the nightmare that you wished you'd never had, kind of thing? And in a sense, it's like, here it is being captured between these two fathers. One, his biological father, but raped his mother. The other, the surrogate stepfather, who, to be honest, never wanted much to do with him after he realized he was a soup, but loved his mother so much that was willing to give it a go. And it's that opening up with Homelander finding that picture, that kind of, in a sense, the crisis point for these two men is Rebecca, not because of her, but because of their own egos and everything. And, you know, Homelander saying to Ryan, come here. And Ryan, you know, rebelling against that and literally just walking out, only to be phoned up to go into what you would think of Billy Butcher's last breath and last throw of the dice, really, here, to bring Ryan on board. You know, there was always that conversation earlier on in the season between Billy Butcher and Joe Kessler. I say conversation, but effectively him speaking to his other side of his personality. Yeah. Of, you know, either we can turn him and use him for our own purposes, or he'll have to be killed. Yeah. And you have here, in a sense, that other part of Billy Butcher before the Worms and Victoria Neuman and being ripped in half, where Billy is trying to make sure that he honors the request of Becca and to protect Ryan. And in the end, Grace Mallory's sort of insistence to try and keep Ryan there, because I do like the juxtaposition between Grace and Billy Butcher here in this moment in the hospital, where, you know, Grace kind of forces the issue really for Ryan to stay. Then he realizes he's actually in another huge sort of underground complex that he could be trapped in, just like his father used to be. Yeah. It was Billy in the end wants Ryan to choose. He's like he says, if you feel safer with Homelander, then stay. If not, you know, go with Mallory.
Yes.
And, you know, Ryan needs time to think, but Grace just pushes it just too much for Ryan to sort of, you know, lash out really, but with his strength.
Yes.
You know, so R.I.P. Mallory here. Yeah. Like, I was like fairly shocked that she was killed. Actually, I really wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that her deteriorated relationship with Billy, in a sense, drove her to try and go beyond. You know, you had Billy trying to like calm down, don't tell him all this stuff, you know, take it easy.
But Billy's basically saying, we have an opportunity here. We can talk through this stuff with Ryan, but we can't overload this child with all of this information right now. And Mallory is kind of going, yeah, but, you know, who knows what's going to happen? You could have an aneurysm right now and die right in front of him, and we don't have time for this. Basically, with Billy, she's trying to get that information out as soon as possible. I don't think Ryan kills Grace Mallory. He's not pushing her to kill her. I don't think he's aggressively pushing her enough. I think this is another situation of Ryan having no idea how to use his force when he's angry. The same way that he killed the stuntman and threw him across an entire street and into a building and crushed him earlier on in the season. That's kind of what happens here with Grace. I think he's pretty shocked, but is still kind of going, I still need to get out of here, and goes. Yeah. I was surprised he didn't take a little pause and go, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. He just walks out of there, but he's so determined to get out.
But I think this is the difficult read on Ryan, because you say that, but he knows exactly how strong he is because he killed the stuntman. So he knows if he does too much with Grace, it could be potentially lethal.
Yeah, but I don't think he knows how to control that, because nobody's training him, nobody's helping him, nobody's telling him how to use his powers. Homelander's going, you're as powerful as I am, and you're going to be the new Homelander and new leader of the Seven. Billy Butcher literally just told him, and Grace has just told them, we're going to train you up to be the person fighting against Homelander. That's how powerful you are. But nobody's going, right, do a half punch here or a third punch here, and this is the result of it. And I think he just pushes Grace out of the way, and she smacks her head against the wall and dies. It's not intentional that he was trying to knock her out even.
I totally agree with you. His whole thing was, I don't want to be trapped down here.
Yeah.
And he pushes her, but his push is the push of someone. And he chucks her off her feet at the wall and she smashes her head. I mean, she effectively had her skull crushed.
Neck broken, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I don't think that he wanted to do that, but I just feel he's so ambiguous because even after the stuntman, then you see how he is when he was influenced by Homelander.
Yeah.
And it's about the influence. So actually, he's hugely suggestible.
Exactly.
And this is the great thing about this character, is that you don't know. Because you're right, he didn't stop and mourn Auntie Mallory that he used to know. He loved meeting her and seeing her for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
But then the upshot of their interaction is he hasn't been able to process anything, not even living with Homelander, because he's just keeping out of his way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let alone this tinderbox situation.
Yeah, and this is his third murder now since he got his powers.
Yeah,
he killed Becca, he's killed Grace now, and he killed the stuntman. And nobody's stopping to go, oh, hang on a second, we really need to control this, or we need to take care of this, or this is how you should be taking care of this, Ryan, and talking to him. That's kind of what Billy wanted to do. But to your point about Joe Kessler, again, this is why having a really good actor like JDM in the role of Joe Kessler as the voice behind Billy Butcher is such a great idea, because there's a moment in the conversation when Ryan's kind of turning all the plans down, and you just see Joe over in the corner going, well, killing him it is then. It's like, it's having this spoken thing that's, again, we are now inside Billy's head. We know this is what Billy's actually saying when he's looking at his son. He's going, well, time to kill him then. Those were the options.
I do wonder, now Mallory is no more. I think the actress who plays Mallory will be back next season as a third potential personality in trying to fight with Becca against JDM.
Interesting.
Assessler in Butcher's Head.
That'd be really cool.
Because I see that's like a person who was so instrumental in his life. Mallory has been. And I think that's a good way to keep that. So there will be always this cast of characters talking with Butcher. But because I was shocked when they killed Mallory.
Yeah, me
shocked.
too. Yeah, I was.
Because I was like, especially and how they did it. I was like, oh, okay, well, it's okay, because it's kind of how they brought Becca back a bit. They're able now. Yes, it's a bit of a trope having this. Oh, it's inside someone's head, but it's still a good thing, because the tumors are almost acting independently as separate characters on themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's part of the show now itself, I guess. That's kind of the point you're making. I get it. It's not a trope now that it's part of Billy Butcher's character. Exactly. He has people that will talk to him.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a real surprise. I suppose it's because of Mallory's speech to Ryan. Ryan has seemed, while poorly influenced at times, and again, a kid, so he hasn't developed where he wants to go with his life yet. So I totally get that. But her speech to him saying, when she lost her grandkids, the massive hole that was left behind, and then Ryan came in as this shining light, and they lived together for months. She was on the run with him for months in the past. So the two of them absolutely became a family unit when Butcher wasn't around, and when Becca wasn't around, and Homelander wasn't around. They became a family unit. I thought that was getting through to Ryan. But then it's almost like panic stations, because the same thing that Homelander has been warning him about for so long, this idea that they will trap you, they will force you to do what they're going to do, just like they did with me, is going to happen to you at some point. And he realized that this is another one of those bunkers that you've created to put me into. So he's like, get out. No matter what stands in my way. So, yeah, it's a great scene though, and a real surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Darick, what about yourself?
I want to talk about Homelander and how far he's gone in this episode, and how far the rest of the 7 have gone as well. The scenes of the last couple of episodes with the Deep and Black Noir effectively being the henchmen for Homelander when they went out and tried to kill the boys in their office. We saw that. We loved that. There were great scenes. But in this episode, there's something more insidious about it when Homelander kicks Ashley out of the room and tells them, right, here's the real plan. The president's going to die today. When he does, everything erupts in riots. We're going to be bringing in every soup around to take care of them. But first, between now and when the president dies, we have to take out everybody in Vault that has any type of information about me, or, well, you guys as well. Yeah, sure. But anybody who has any information on me, they all have to die. And the Deep's like, yep, no problem, sir. Not a problem. Anybody else? Could we add Ashley to the top of that list? That's kind of his, that's the Deep. He is now fully on board, now that he's lost Ambrosius and learnt what happened with Sage and the Black Noir before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought there'd be a bit more tension between Black Noir and the Deep this episode, but it didn't feel like that at all. They were all broing it again.
Yep, they're back to be bros. Yeah.
I guess, the Deep is already lobotomized, so he just doesn't hold on to that stuff, really.
Well,
fish brain.
He's a little fish brain.
5 seconds. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Black Noir. How are you?
Well, exactly. But they're also fully stormtroopers now for Homelander. They will do whatever he commands. We have the scenes of the Vault employees running through the building, being chased down by first Firecracker, who's not looking pretty good at the moment. She's gotten quite sick from the tablets that she's been taking to please Homelander.
I initially thought that was possibly the virus. Actually,
so did I.
Yeah.
I really thought that's how they were going to say, secretly they was introduced.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought the mix of having Firecracker being sick and also the Changeling as well, having, I'm burning up in here, this place is so hot. I thought, there's 2 soups that seem to be having health problems at the moment. Maybe the virus has gone airborne and we just don't know about it, that this is the effect that it's having on people here. So yeah, totally with you on that. But Firecracker did make me laugh when she was like, just stop running, and then just shoots the guy in the back to get him to stop so she doesn't have to run after him anymore. And then the Deep taking out one of the writers from Vault Towers as well, one of the ones that we've seen throughout the seasons of the show. But not before he makes the guy tell him that he's a very intelligent member and the most respected, after Homelander, of course, most respected member of the Seven. I don't know. Chase Crawford plays this part so well that when he said to the guy, you know what, that's enough for me. I know you're saying it just because you're afraid, but that's enough for me. That's all I want. I actually thought he was going to let him go until he pounds his face into dust.
So brutal.
Yeah. Really awful.
And even poor other Ashley getting killed by Black Noir because it's like, I've killed Ashley. That's the wrong Ashley. There's too many Ashleys.
Everybody around here is called Ashley. Yeah. And he gets his murder boner, like the real Black Noir.
Absolutely. I did like as well in Vault News when Homelander tells Ashley he needs all the files on anyone in Vault who has intel on him or the Seven, but mainly me.
Yeah.
And there's just, again, an exchange between the Ashleys there, in the back corridors of the, of the TV studio. And I just thought, actually, another R.I.P. Ashley, because it was such a good concept, these 2 Ashleys.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fun. But I just that moment for me, that's my big antagonist moment. The fact that Homelander had now been able to get the other 3 members of the Seven, still not a 7, to follow every single command he gives them effectively. So I thought that was really interesting and pretty scary as well, because they are now, again, the Deep. You wouldn't think of him as that massively violent a person. And look what he did to someone he worked side by side with for 4 or 5 years now at this stage, in the writer from the Vault Studios, right? So, and just punched him straight through the face. Yeah. All right, let's go on to our other outstanding moments from the episode.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes to make your openings.
Yeah, no, I'll take on my outstanding moment here because it does follow on with all the Vault employees being killed and Ashley overhearing Homelander telling the remaining members of the Seven the actual plan. And she hears the Deep talking about killing her as well. just before I go into the actual point, I just love this actress, Colby Minifie, because I like when Homelander tells her to leave and starts the door for the meeting room going. She's kind of like, I can make it, and it's like starts running because, dropping all the stuff again. And I just like, it's just such an unusual choice, but I found it really funny.
I had to know, there's just something, it's Firecracker that pushes the door button when Homelander kicks Ashley out. And it's just that look on Firecracker's face going, you don't belong here. You're just one of those humans kind of thing. It's just like, get the hell out of here. But we have the power in this place. Yeah.
But it's almost like a lab rat being asked to sort of get through this next test, which is get yourself out this room before the big fire doors close. Yeah. But anyway, I love the fact that as soon as she hears the actual plan, she is straight down to Homelander's room and injects herself with V. Her wig comes off.
Yes.
And I'm like, we don't actually see what transformation is happening to her, how the V is going to take shape.
You forgot about the wig though, didn't you, John?
I did, because I thought that was it.
Yeah.
But, and then I was like, oh no, she has a wig. Yeah. And then we don't see her for the rest of this episode. So I actually did think those moments in the corridor where Black Noir had just killed other Ashley and you'd got the thing with the writer, I thought we were going to see V'd up Ashley coming in here going, well, you're not taking me or whatever. But no, we don't see what has befallen or become of her. So that I can't wait for season 5. Yeah. Because I would say a V'd up Ashley could be really, really funny.
It could be very, very interesting. Yeah, we just see the brain through her skull. We see it kind of pulsating. That's the only indication. I really did feel, and I know it's probably just because the wig came off, but it really felt like the transformations from Roald Dahl's The Witches. That's what I thought they were going for, that kind of style. But yeah, we don't have an indication of what the powers that she's getting from VR. But it was instantly, oh God, I'm going to die. Right. Time for me to finally take that.
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly where it is, so.
And in fairness to her, I totally understand that. And, so we don't see her again. So actually, and just another thing on a disappearance, because we don't get A-Train back in this episode either, which I thought we were going to see A-Train somehow. I mean, even certainly down to the title of the episode, Assassination Run. I was like, oh, okay. I actually thought A-Train might die in this episode, but we don't see him at all.
Interesting. There's a moment with the shapeshifter who says to Annie, you were never the first choice to be the person that I would take on the look of. Was she maybe thinking A-Train could have been the person that they'd replace and he'd do the assassination? I don't know. They couldn't find him because he left the city last episode, as we know. But
maybe.
I wonder if he was the one that they were saying.
It could be, because Sister Sage did know about him, so it could have just been the way to...
He was the proper patsy to, it could have been better than her. I just wondered when you said that, because we didn't get him. We got a mention of him in the speech, as we said earlier on, from so kind of like the feedback was saying earlier on about this potentially just leading into season 5 rather than it being a definitive ending for season 4. It will absolutely lead on to the next episode. I'm sure we're going to see A-Train coming back in some capacity next episode, the first of season 5. I'm sure we're going to see him.
I'd say so. He's going to help spring the boys. But I'd say that's kind of personally what I think.
Yeah, something like that. Anything else on Ashley, John?
No, that was it.
Chris, do you want to give us your outstanding moment from the episode?
Yeah, very quickly for me, it's just setting up Soldier Boy back.
He is.
For season 5.
Yeah.
End of season 3, we know both of them survived, himself and Maeve. Maeve goes into Witsec and Soldier Boy. Oh my God, Maeve and Witsec.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Maeve and A-Train are now both on the run.
Yeah.
They could potentially come back for season 5.
Yeah.
Just thought about that one. As you said, talked about A-Train, I went, Maeve. Yeah, she survived too.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I remembered Queen Maeve still being alive.
Yeah.
And I was surprised we hadn't seen her in this
Yeah.
season so far.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there's been a few little nods, the copybook that Sage has is a Queen Maeve copybook. It's not like the character's been forgotten in the show at all, but she's there somewhere, but taking a year out, I guess, from the boys. So I think it's highly possible we could get the character back next season.
That'd be cool.
Very good.
Anyway, back to Soldier Boy.
Yes.
So last season ago, we saw at the end Mallory taking Soldier Boy back into custody, her version of custody, into a black op room, into the gas-filled chamber. I thought that was it.
Right.
The fact that we see Homelander basically finding him again because of the new president, because he was briefed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, what are you setting up next season? Because the possibility they were antagonists against each other's, but then also both had a very particular view of how it could be done.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, you really, like, they're setting up, going with the Star Wars analogy, the Darth Vader and Palpatine going against Luke, and like they're setting it up into the next season.
Well, really, in that analogy, Chris, it's actually Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker teaming up together, father and son, to take over the galaxy. So maybe that's their twist on the Star Wars mythology. What if father and son did actually team up to take on the galaxy?
But there is another.
But there is another.
And so then it's Luke's kid.
Father, son, and grandson, I guess, if Ryan stays on their side. That's three of them, right? So, be interesting. But yeah, it was a great way to have Soldier Boy come back at the end. And, we'll probably talk about it in a second, but this idea that the president has sworn an oath almost to Homelander above the US, above the people, above the party, above everything else that's there. He's sworn an allegiance to Homelander. So when he gets his briefing becoming the new president, the first thing he does he goes, do you know this thing that's being hidden from you is Soldier Boy is still alive and they've got him here, right? Come on over and I'll show you exactly where he is. It's like having a direct report from the highest of office to the now even higher office, I guess, of Homelander. So, it's a great little post-credit scene there.
Yeah, and it just sets up a lot for next season.
Exactly.
Just the possibilities outside of just what is set up as an end credit kind of post-credit view. Yeah, it's great. So that was mine. I just completely, because he was just taken off the board the last season. I was just like, did not expect it. Yeah. To return. I thought that was just kind of the end. Yeah. No, they always have a plan.
Quite cool to see Justin Eccles back next episode. My outstanding moment is really all of our outstanding moments. I'm sure the outstanding moment for everybody is how this season ends with all of the cliffhangers. We talked about the first major one, which is Butcher coming back in and killing off Neuman, taking the weapon. So he now has the weapon and he's on the road, probably to go and shove it somewhere up Homelander if he can get an ability to do so. But the rest of it, where we have Sage returning. So Sage has always been involved in this plan. She knew the plan from the start. She even knew that Homelander was eventually going to cut her off and kick her out, and that he would make multiple different choices. And she planned for all of those eventualities. Everybody's speculation about Sage potentially just working for herself or being a good guy, we're all wrong. She does want to complete the plan for Homelander and knew how to achieve it, even if he wasn't going to listen to her. Like, absolute brilliance. And when at that moment when her eyes go a bit wild, when he said, "I treated you like garbage, why did you do this?" And she goes, "Because I wanted to prove to myself that I could."
But that's what I loved about it.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
And it was also the scary thing because I thought, oh, okay, she's going to switch. She's going to be the good Sage, but actually it's even more frightening is that despite being able to extricate herself from the whole thing, and she managed to get out without her brains being in a bucket. She's that clever. She's put in all the fail-safes to account for the stupidity, the ego of Homelander, who believes he's better than humanity, but isn't necessarily, at least when it comes to the mind and the brain. But it's that she just said, I wanted to just see if I could do it.
Yeah. Even
because she's that clever, it's like, otherwise I'm bored. And in a sense, it comes back to her, well, I came up with a cancer cure in, 7 hours after my gran.
Yeah.
It's that she does it because she can.
Yes.
It's literally her superpower, and that's why she did it.
Yeah.
She was bored, unchallenged, and nobody was listening to her when she was at home.
And she could still make it work. And I liked how it played out, actually. I liked how it played out. Yeah.
And even better, as she walks out, it was her turn to Homelander going, now get ready for phase 2. I've got even bigger plans. And you're going, what is she planning for the big finale in season 5? Where is she going to put Homelander? I guess king of the world?
Possibly.
Something
phase 2 is another coup,
Yeah.
As in, who knows? But great, really good. I like the fact that as well she comes in with a balloon just to celebrate the success, and it's like, what is going on? I like that.
That's really good.
That's
really good. And then the other position that Homelander is in is that he's now the leader of all of the deputized superheroes all across America. They are all now being deputized, and he is going to be over all of them. So effectively the new Minister of War for the US, I guess, or the Minister of all policing for all of America. And we know that the president has pledged his allegiance to Homelander, as I said, so because of the phone call that Sage comes in with. So I don't know whether the public know that. They know that the public aren't seeing the president swearing allegiance to Homelander. They're saying he's just saying that all the supes are deputized and reporting to Homelander. But there is a little bit of a moment as he's making the press conference that Homelander kind of pushes him out of the way mid-sentence to make his speech to his new public, though, which I thought was kind of a good.
That was a nice little touch, actually. Well, he's out to root the deep state starlighters.
Yes, he is.
Which includes effectively the boys on the run.
And there's the big moments, of course, the big moments that happen with the boys as they break up and go their separate ways. We've, again, another scene that we've seen play out in previous seasons as they go to different parts of the country, as they all separate away from each other. In the past, not as bad when they go to ground. Here we see Kimiko and Frenchie going one way, going another way, Huey and Ali going their own separate way. It's kind of a planes, trains and automobiles bit. We have Frenchie and Kimiko going to the shipyard to get their boat away from the US, and they're confronted by the two major characters from Gen V. We have Kate and Sam back. Sam, I hope this doesn't spoil anything for Gen V. You should have watched it by now, fellow boys and girls. But Sam is still fully in thrall of Kate. He is still under her power. Still doing her bidding. You can see it from his eyes. He's not engaged at all. He's still doing her will. He's holding Kimiko while Kate does exactly the same thing to Frenchie. She converts Frenchie under her control again. So the reason why I want to just highlight that again is because in Gen V, Sam was turned to Kate's side and his girlfriend tried to do that thing, oh, but I love you, come back to my side. They've already done it in Gen V where the love interest of the character tries to get him back over by, proclaiming her love to him. And it didn't work for Sam. The fact that in this episode, Kimiko and Frenchie got together, had their kiss, there's nobody more important in the world to each other than them. You would think in another show, that means that Kimiko can stand in front of Frenchie in future and go, but I love you, come back to me. They've already done it. They've already tested that on Kate's powers, and that doesn't break Kate's powers.
Yeah. No.
So interesting just to note that even though we've seen the two of them come together, that's not going to be what breaks Frenchie out of the thrall of Kate next season. It'll be something else.
Killing Kate does.
Yeah, potentially.
That is literally it.
Taking her arm again. Yeah.
And great to have Mother's Milk knocked down by Love Sausage as well in the airport. Who else but Mother's Milk's nemesis in the Love Sausage?
It is his nemesis, isn't it? It adds to that joke of the person that his wife was sleeping with, the Homelander fan, where everybody was slagging him off because he clearly has a much bigger member than MM, is the joke that they keep saying. That's why she left MM and went to this Homelander supporter. And here we have Love Sausage coming in, and he's the one that captured MM. So there's definitely a size thing with MM here.
It definitely is. And a Purell hand sanitizer thing, because it's just like, I don't even think the fact that it is a love sausage that beats him down. It's the germs on that love sausage and the need to, the OCD need to be sanitized and clean.
It could be.
So funny.
And then finally, we have Huey and Annie getting blocked in the middle of the road as a boat is dropped right in front of them on the road. Some members of the Secret Service come in and take Huey away, while Cindy, a character we haven't seen from season 2, returns. Last time we saw her, she was hitchhiking away from the facility where Lamplighter met his end back in season 2. We saw her disappear and then thought she was going to be either syncing up with the Seven or maybe joining the boys even back in season 2. And then we never saw her again throughout all of season 3. And here she is back, obviously working for Homelander now and capturing Huey, while Annie gets her powers back and flies off.
Escapes.
And escapes. So Annie's the only member of the team that's free now,
along with Billy. Although whether he is a member of the team, no, I know, I get it, but like Billy is not captured.
Yeah, I feel like what we're probably going to get in this throughout the discussions that we've had here, it makes a lot of sense that what we have is Annie teaming up with A-Train Queen Maeve. In the next season of the show, that's the new boys team to then get the rest of our team back out of the concentration camps, I guess, for want of a better word, that Homelander is going to be putting them into. So,
yeah. Well, we did hear that like all of the superheroes, the Vault superheroes, are now going to be essentially military police.
Yes,
they're police force. So there is going to be some pushback by someone, and I think they'll be the Starlighters. Starlighters will become a thing next season.
Yeah,
but it sets it up so interesting.
Yeah, it's effectively the superhero version of Handmaid's Tale is coming next season.
Yeah, and just one of the interesting things, like all of these people coming back, all these characters, you may get this iconic kind of like push between like all of these superheroes. You may get almost like a Civil War Marvels where you're going to have good versus bad superheroes go face to face, and the boys have made Amazon a lot of money.
Yes.
I think they could probably offer up, it's like, hey, you're going to get one major scene in the finale of the season of your last season. You go for this, go all out.
Yeah.
Get your end game moment.
There you go. Could be it.
And you're going to have all of them rush together. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool if we had tons and tons of superheroes on screen, or soups on screen on either side. That would be cool.
Like Endgame.
Hundreds of them, exactly like Endgame or Civil War. Yeah, it'd be really cool to see them all together in that final season. And it seems like bringing this many, extra characters back at the end of the season, it's possibly a good setup for that next season. But between now and then, we have Gen V Season 2, which will have its own storyline that will play into this as well, which would be very interesting to see. Very excited to see what they do with Gen V Season 2. Anybody have any other points or notes from the episode? Anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about? I have one that I completely forgot to mention, of course. A massive moment. Kimiko speaking and saying her first words on screen, shouting no as Frenchie is dragged away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that, yeah. That didn't even register with me.
No, it didn't register.
It certainly registered. I just forgot to say it on the podcast. I have it in my notes. Don't forget to mention this. And when I went through my notes, I just saw, oh yeah, don't forget to mention that. Zoe, the daughter of Victoria Neuman, ends off life exactly where Victoria Neuman started when she back in Red River. So that's a bit sad when Victoria Neuman was Nadia hidden in Red River, and now Zoe's ending up back there. That's pretty bad.
One very quick one from me.
Mm-hmm.
Giancarlo Esposito. His character is still on the loose.
That's right.
How much will Stan Edgar come in?
Mm-hmm.
Now, particularly that Vic is dead.
Yeah.
Victoria is no more. And they both wanted for her daughter not to end up and have a better life. And that was a particular thing. So it's going to be interesting.
who will he blame as well? Because in effect, yeah, it's Billy Butcher that killed her, but it's Homelander that outed her as well, which TV, kind of that snowball. I guess it's both of you, but yeah.
Probably. Stan Edgar versus Billy Butcher and Homelander there, yeah.
Oh, you never know. Could be.
I can imagine it, though. I can imagine it. Like, he's got the most connections from being, the former head of Vought. Yeah. So he knows how to play the game.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. That'll be the three armies in the Battle of the Three Armies next season. Good stuff. Anything else left, John?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, I've got one last one. I was saving this for the end because it made me laugh as a Supernatural fan, because we have Robert Singer, President Robert Singer. Fans of Supernatural know that the character is named after the character of Bobby Singer, played by Jim Beaver, the same actor in Supernatural. But they did get to cram in his two best catchphrases. One's heard for about 12 seasons of the show, where President Singer here is playing his golf and calls out the words "idiot" and "balls" multiple times. Things you would hear often going into ad breaks of Supernatural. You'd hear Bobby Singer calling someone an idiot, or just saying balls as the big plot of the bad guys is revealed. So I love that they squeezed them in here, because we haven't had a huge amount of Robert Singer. He's been in the background as the presidential run has been going on, but as we saw a bit more of in this episode, why not squeeze in his catchphrases, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice of Eric to do that.
Absolutely. Guys, what did you think of the episode overall? Chris, what's your final thoughts on Season 4, Episode 8, Assassination Run?
I loved it. I really enjoyed how it set everything up. I enjoyed how they wrapped everything. And I will credit John on this. It is very much your Empire Strikes Back ending. Like, the boys, everything is in the low. It's the lowest. They have failed. Their president reports to Homelander, essentially, now. Sage's plan worked. They're all on the run. They're all captured. Yeah. Like, everything that they wanted is no more. Yeah. And you even get a high for a moment with Frenchie and Kimiko, and that's ripped away. They brought everything down to hopefully build to this crescendo for next season. Yeah. And I'm just amazed that they did so much. And this episode, this season, really it was fantastic writing, some amazing direction, and absolutely really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And some of the performances this season, like, didn't even call out Daryl Moriarty here, playing both the roles of the shapeshifter and Annie in scenes against each other, and they're such different and such great characters, having that vicious version of Erin Moriarty playing the shapeshifter, really attacking Annie January where she lives, about her believing she's better than everybody else in the world. The way she played both roles, I thought, was fantastic. She doesn't get enough praise in this show, but Erin Moriarty is absolutely one of the stars of the show. She was fantastic. So loads of great performances this season. I'm totally with you, Chris. I really liked Season 4. And I love now that we have a final season, Season 5, and it was announced early enough to know that this wouldn't be the end. They're not waiting for, building something up to wait for the show to be renewed. I think they did a great job setting up the bigger story of this universe and what's happening here. Homelander was more evil than ever, having the most intelligent person on Earth, Sage, being at his side, made him even more damaging to the world. And everything seemed ramped up and elevated this season. Loved it. So hoping they can really nail the landing in Season 5 of The Boys. John, how about yourself? What's your final thoughts on this episode?
Same. I really enjoyed this episode. I'd give it 4.5 murder boners out of 5. You do get the sense that Season 5, it'd be nice if it was coming along a little quicker. Okay. I know we've got Gen V in between, but I think that'll be good, because in effect that is this continuation. I think it'll be interesting to see if the boys that have been captured are in close proximity to those Gen V characters that are also in custody.
I could see that.
But so really like that whole thing. I liked how this kind of was left, really, with Vought, Homelander leading it triumphant, effectively leading the country. that most of the people don't know what's going on, don't realize the whole premise for this. I love the whole going after the deep state starlighters, just all this made up stuff, being
inspired by true life. Yes.
Well, and being inspired by true life, but it's just, it's the waste of energy that it is. Like, it's just so good. I love the continuous humor through all of this episode as well. I like the light touch with Frenchie and Kimiko. I do like the fact that, in a sense, the boys has kind of gone belly up, not just because they've been captured, but Billy Butcher is effectively off on his own run at the moment. So this was just really, really good, and quite down as well because of where it was left.
Yeah.
Especially when you think, the end of season 3, you had pretty much, they'd combated Stormfront. It felt, there was some positivity there. This just feels, oh no, okay, not a chance. The Deep getting worse. Black Noir effectively realizing his true length, I guess, with the attack on the murder that's happening. So I love this. 4.5 murder bonus out of 5 for me.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. It's just been such a good season. We have one last point of business for the episode, guys. I think we need a drink after this season. We need to go for a beer.
Definitely. Yeah. It's so roasting at the moment in this podcast room. I definitely need a drink. But fellow boys and girls, fellow quizzers, it is the finale question for this, The Boys Season 4 pub quiz. Pull up a bar stool, pour yourself a drink, and we will get into question 8, which was posed actually by the Deep in this episode. What is Ashley's last name?
Can anybody do it without looking it up on IMDb? I could. I must admit I got her name immediately, but I did think it was quite funny that that all of them are sitting around having worked with Ashley for so many years and going, what's her surname? Anybody knows? Brilliant. John, what's the question? One last time. Sorry.
The question is, what is Ashley's last name? And by Ashley, I mean the CEO of Vought, not the other Ashley, who came to a gruesome, grisly end at the hands of Black Noir.
Absolutely. That's it. That is the 8th question of our 8 questions for the final Boys pub quiz for this season. You can email the correct answers into us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. You could be in the chance of getting your hands on some Boys goodies. Get all the answers correct into us as soon as possible. On our next episode for The Boys, what we'll be talking about is all of your feedback, which we'd love to hear from you at that email address, and, of course, giving you the correct answers for The Boys pub quiz. So get writing.
And if you've enjoyed what you've heard over these 8 episodes and all of Season 1 of Gen V and the previous 3 seasons of Boys coverage, make sure you head on over to patreon.com/tvpodcastindustries, where you can support us for any ongoing monthly amount and help keep the mic and lights running. But if you also want to support us with a one-off donation and keep Darick in caffeine as he toils away the wee hours and maybe spice up that coffee into an Irish coffee, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/tvpi, where you can buy us a coffee or an Irish coffee, depending on your choice, always. And if you can't support us, you ain't got no bucks, no worries. Why not make sure you head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com and subscribe, rate, review, do all the things on all the channels at all the places, because most important, you can also share the podcast with your friends. Tell them all about it, because sharing the podcast is what, gentlemen?
Sharing the
love.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes.
Of course, we love when you share the love. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to talking about the feedback on this episode. We want to know what you thought about the finale when we come back next week. It'll be really interesting to get your thoughts on that. And then we have a tiny bit of a break after we finish The Boys. We've got a couple of the shows that are coming up. We've got our wrap up of The Acolyte. We said we were going to do a wrap up of the show as it finishes off. So send in your feedback on that, of course. We've got the final season of Umbrella Academy coming out in August. I think it's August 8th. But myself and John have kind of a big date going up in August. So I'm not sure exactly whether we're going to be able to podcast about Umbrella Academy before or after that.
We're not.
Yeah. Why?
Because that special
Why
date
not?
is
Because if we do, we'll be getting a divorce as quickly as we're getting married, fellow boys and girls.
Which is 20 years, so that's not too bad.
It is, yeah.
It's a long
not
process.
podcasting.
No, we're not going to be podcasting around the time of our wedding, but we will, I'm sure, cover the final season of Umbrella Academy at some point. But we are looking forward to the big day, finally tying the knot and finally getting married after all these years.
I thought you were talking about the big day of the final
season of Umbrella Academy. That's not as
But I am looking forward to Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
I can't
just
wait
not as much as the wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It can have to just be put on hold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure our fellow fans of Umbrella Academy will understand.
Well, I've always loved that show.
Yeah.
I love the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking forward to talking about that, and of course we will be back with Gen V in the future and the final season of The Boys when that comes out as well. Thank you so much to all of our fellow boys and girls for joining us for this season.
But with all that, fellow Injustice, boys and girls, and Brawly Dollies in the future.
Exactly. Oh, Brawly Dollies.
Yeah, they'll be coming back.
And you Acolytes. I can't really, Acolytes, we're going to need to figure one out for that one-off episode. What do we call them?
Just Star Wars fans, I think.
Star Wars Acolytes. Yeah, we'll figure it out. John will have one by the time
we have fellow rebels, but I guess we need fellow acolytes.
We had fellow batchers for the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
We'll work it
fellow hot Sith people, I guess.
We will workshop that between now and then.
Absolutely.
But from all of us at TV Podcast Industries, we will speak to you soon. We'll speak to you next week.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you again next time.
Yes, thanks so much, fellow boys and girls, for joining us until the roundup episode, I guess. Keep watching, keep listening, and watch out for that love sausage in airport bathrooms.
Bye.
Bye.